This conference will now be recorded.
Right, let's start today's session. In the last session of Python, we were discuss about regular expressions, and today we'll see the next concept that is database connectivity programming. Like PyODBC through, we can communicate with the database. But using Python, we can communicate with any type of database. Using Python, we can communicate with any type of database like Microsoft SQL Server as well as MySQL, any type of database we can communicate. I'll show you how to work with the MS SQL, that is Microsoft SQL Server today. So in the next session, mostly MySQL also we will discuss clearly. So let's see this Python database connectivity, how it will be. So we'll start now. Python database connectivity. So this concept is related to PDBC. PDBC means Python database connectivity topic. Let's work with database connectivity, how to do it. Mostly we'll say that how to perform all the CRUD operations using database. So PDBC is our topic now. It stands for Python database connectivity. Okay. So Python database connectivity. So generally, as I said in the file handling system, in the last sessions, what we discussed, file handling mechanism. As part of our application development, we need to store our data like customer information or client information, any employee information, total information. We need to store that data into database. So to store the data, we require some storage areas, uh, temporary storage area and permanent storage area, or two types of storage areas are there, temporary as well as permanent. Temporary storage areas means like Python objects, which I said. The moment when we create Python objects like list, tuple, set, that data structures will store the data temporarily as long as when we run the Python programming. Once we exit Python programming, that temporary data cannot store completely. So that is temporary storage area. So it will lose the data. Once we exit from the program, it lose the data. That is temporary storage area. And permanent storage area means uh, file system and databases. These are all file permanent storage areas. Even permanent storage area file system means file system will also store the data permanently, but that limitations are there. As we discussed already in the file system, modification of the data and updating the data is complex operations in file system. File system will have the limited capacity, no large capacity, and file system do not provide any centralized database mechanism. Means many clients cannot able to interact with the files which are present in our computer. So to avoid this, and we can go for database. Generally, database storage area is the most important storage area. Usually, all the applications in real time can be used database storage areas only. But file systems also useful for storing permanently for project level. But database means completely overall application level, which are going to be run under the project, and many clients information we can store in the database. It's having huge capacity and centralized communication also there. Once we store the data into database, many of the clients can communicate with them and can access them. That is database. So temporary storage memories are areas are data will be stored temporarily. Once Python program completes its execution, then temporary objects will be destroyed automatically. Permanent storage areas are will keep the data permanently until you delete or drop them. So database storage area supports query language support. Query language support means SQL query language support is there. That means structured query language. Like inserting purpose, insert command we use, updating purpose, update command we use, deleting purpose, delete command we use. Okay, like that. So insert, delete, update, all the commands we use that like that only. That is permanent storage areas, database storage areas purpose. And managing or modifying the data is easy in database concepts only. So more security also will be there when we store the data in your database, because without any permission or authentication, nobody can enter into database, nobody can able to access the database data. So there is some security is there, and we can able to filter the data also by applying some constants like primary key, foreign key, like that we can apply on database level. Then we can filter the data also. These are the benefits of database storage areas. Okay. And we can use SQL language to talk to the database, and we can use Python to send those SQL commands to the database. So Python is our language to send that SQL commands to the database. SQL commands will talk to the database and bring the data from database. So Python provides built-in support for several databases like Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, and SQLite 3, MongoDB, DBase, FoxPro, any type of databases we can communicate with Python, no problem. But today what I am showing now, just the basic CRUD operations using Microsoft SQL Server and MySQL also I'll show you. Both databases I can communicate from Python to Microsoft SQL Server and Python to MS SQL. First, we'll see today MS SQL. This is Microsoft SQL Server. MS SQL Server means Microsoft SQL Server, which is related to Microsoft. And using Python script, how we can communicate with MS SQL and how we can perform the CRUD operations. MS SQL CRUD operations I'm showing now. CRUD operations. CRUD operation means C for create. C for create. Create means creating a record or creating a new record or multiple records. R for read means we can retrieve the records, reading the data from database like this. And U for update means modifying the records, update the data into database. D for delete means deleting the record like this, deleting a record. Create, read, update, and delete. So these are the records are presents are. Create command, read command, update command, delete command. These are the CRUD operations we are performing. And to perform these CRUD operations, we need Microsoft SQL Server. So if you want to work with Microsoft SQL Server, I strongly recommend to download and install. But I suggest you for only this programming purpose, no need to download and install Microsoft SQL Server, because just for example, I'm showing using Python, we can communicate with a different database. That is my purpose to show. But in future, if you are opted for full stack developer, like you are going to attending my Django sessions, REST API sessions, all these things, then MySQL is recommend to install. Okay, so better to go for MySQL installation instead of MS SQL. Only for this example purpose, no need to download and install Microsoft SQL Server. You can avoid that. But just I'm showing that Python through we can communicate with any database. That is our intention mainly. So I have already Microsoft SQL Server software in my computer. In case if you want to download and install, simply go to Google and type download my SQL Server 2019 or 2022 like this. Okay, just go to Google and download SQL Server. We can use it. SQL Server simply. SQL Server means automatically it will bring you like microsoft.com. First link is there, SQL Server downloads. Once we click on it, so it SQL Server Microsoft launch new version of SQL Server 2022 also, like this SQL Server 2022 or 2019. Anyone you can download is developer edition only. Download and install it. If you don't know how to download and install it, simply you can just go to YouTube and try to write steps to download and install SQL Server 2020, 2019 or 2022. Type it. There are so many suggestions will be there. You can follow that instructions and download it here. I have in my computer already SQL Server software, because I used to teach .NET subjects also. In the .NET point of view, we will communicate with SQL Server. That's what I have SQL Server with me. To open SQL Server, just go to search and type SQL. So I have Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. This is called SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. This is called tool. So how we use PyCharm tool for Python programming, same Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio is also, it's a tool which can be managed with our databases and all these things. So for the first time, you can see this, I'm opening Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio now. You will be able to see like this once you start opening this Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. After that, we have to follow some credentials. Now you can see server type is, we have to choose database engine. There are a lot of services are there. It's not required for you. Database engine is server side, server type, because every SQL Server developer should select this database engine as a server type. Okay. So database engine is a server type, and server name is what actually dot. It's a universal server name. So using this, which server name you are connecting, that server name only we have to use the path settings only. Server name is dot, and authentication is what actually I'm saying Windows authentication. If I say server authentication, at the time of installation of this Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, what username and password you provided, that username and password you have to give this. But I'm giving server authentication only, what Windows authentication. That means no need to use any username and password kind of things. Directly I can able to use it here. Okay. So this is Windows authentication and server name is dot. Let's click on connect. Now we are trying to create, the moment when we connect successfully with Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, so we will get this window like this. And in this window, left hand side, there is a Object Explorer is there. Even if you don't find that Object Explorer like this, sometimes you may not find out. So no worries, you can collect it from view menu. So Object Explorer is available. You can get this Object Explorer. This Object Explorer window help us to manage your database folders and tables folders and everything here. And right now, left hand side, there is a database folder is there. You can expand it. Lot of databases which I created for my previous sessions purpose. These many databases are there. Let's create our own database now. So simply how to create database, I'll tell you. Right click on databases, click on new database, and simply it will ask you to create the database by using the name. So I'm just mentioning the name of the database, like meaningful name. Python at 7 a.m. is my database name now. So using this database only, I can communicate from Python to this database here. So database name is Python at 7 a.m. and click on OK. Automatically database will create. Look at this. Database created successfully. But do you have any tables right now in this database? No. So look at this, expand this database Python at 7 a.m. and there is no, there is a tables folder is there. Right now we don't have any tables right now in this case. You just expand these tables, no tables are available right now. Let's try to create one of the table for just for CRUD operation purpose. Okay. Yes, let's try to right click on it, tables, go to new and click on table now. So once I click on table, it will ask you the column names and data types you are going to mention here. And sir, table creation, database creation through commands also we can create, but I'm not showing command, but it's not required for you. Okay, because this is Microsoft SQL Server, which is unrelated to our Python subject. But in the MySQL, I will show you both criteria, like how to create database through query and as well as through design, everything we'll do that. Okay. So column name is ID column and data type is integer type I'm taking. Next column name is name and data type is of this name is varchar of 50. Next column is address and next variable character something like this. Next column name is salary. I'm taking integer type like this. These are the few columns I'm taking. After that, you just click on save. Once we complete this column names and its data types entry in this table structure, click on save it. It will ask you table name, enter a table name for saving. Let me enter the table name is like EMP table or any name you can take. Click on OK. Now EMP table got created successfully. Where it's create means you can go to Object Explorer, right click on tables and then refresh. So we got this tables and we have a table called EMP table which I created. So every table by default associated with the DBO, DBO means database object is there here. It's called database object, dbo.emp here. So I can expand it. So now DBO tables, table columns are there here. You can see expand columns. Now ID, name, address, salary like this. These are the tables. ID, name, address, salary. These details are there. Columns, and you can expand it. If you want to see the table also, let's see this. Right click on this table dbo.emp and click on edit top 200 rows. So let's try to insert few records because first time I want to read the data here too in Python programming. So let's insert few records for reading purpose, name, address, and then salary like this. Okay. And also second record, I'm taking name, address, and salary like this. These two records, I need to save it. To save this, after inserting, simply go to Query Designer tab and execute SQL. Once we execute SQL, these two records are available right now into my table. So look at this. Database name is what? Python at 7 a.m. Table name is what? EMP table. Table is having how many records? Two records. Let's keep this side. So this section is over now. So we create a database with the name Python at 7 a.m. We create a table with the name EMP. We inserted two records in that clearly. So done. Next, we need to go to our Python code. So Python through we can communicate with Microsoft SQL Server database like Python at 7 a.m. database, and we can bring that data and display to the user here in this Python programming. But sir, how does this Python program knows that where it has to be connect? Means we have to give connection string. Okay, let's create a Python file. So pydb.py I'm giving Python database connectivity program. But look at this, especially to work with Microsoft SQL Server connectivity using Python, I strongly recommend to import one library that is called PyODBC. That means Python Open Database Connectivity. It's an API. This API can able to communicate from Python program to database tool. So PyODBC. But look at this, in my case, I have already Python Open Database Connectivity Library, PyODBC library. That's what it's showing in IntelliSense. But in your case, for the first time when we try to import PyODBC, you will get underlined red squiggly. That means there is no library called PyODBC. You have to install explicitly this library if you don't have. But in my case, already many times I have included this. So that's what it's coming PyODBC library here. But if you don't have PyODBC, it shows clearly indication there is no PyODBC. Let's make uninstall now. Any package if you want to uninstall, the procedure is common. Let's go to here PAP file menu and click on settings. Now you can see uh, Python interpreter under this Python full stack 7am project folder. Python interpreter is there. There are a lot of libraries which I have already installed in my mission. Now you can see this one of the library I want to uninstall, which is PyODBC, just for you to show again. So PyODBC library is there with me, and I'm going to click on minus symbol. That means that makes uninstallation. So once I click on minus symbol and OK, then you can see PyODBC successfully uninstalled, it is saying. Right now we don't have any PyODBC library here. So this is installation procedure. Once we uninstall, now you can see the moment when we try to import PyODBC, is this coming in IntelliSense now? No. It shows underlined red squiggly again, error is there. That means what? I don't have PyODBC library. So underlined red squiggly is there. The moment when we place mouse pointer over there, it's saying like no module name called PyODBC. Do you want to install package PyODBC? Yes, I'm taking PyODBC installation. Directly you can click on install package PyODBC, or else you can follow same steps. Go to file menu and click on project settings. Okay, interpreter, add plus symbol through, search the package pyodbc, then install it. Directly you can install here also, install pyodbc package. Now you can see installing package pyodbc. Packages installed successfully, installed packages pyodbc like this. Or else do you want install like this, you can go to here settings, and here in the left hand side project folder is there. Under this project folder Python interpreter, and click on plus symbol, and immediately you will get available packages search window. So there we can type here pyodbc like this. Now we can use this one. Already blue color indication means what? It's already installed. So you want to see the information related to PyODBC. Now you can see this is called database API module for ODBC, Open Database Connectivity. That is called Python Open Database Connectivity here. So using this library through, we can communicate with database, any database. But we are communicating with right now what? Microsoft SQL Server database only. Let's see this, how it will be. Multiple packages means what? Package installation procedure, this is only, but multiple packages at a time we cannot. Okay, on generally in real time, on the flow, whatever we are trying to implement, the moment whenever we notice that which is some methods we are using, no, that methods are not available means you will come to know through editor the package is required means instantly they will try to install. That is good practice. But before, without writing code and without using code snippets, then how do you know that which package is required to install it? But what are the built-in by default? It will come all the libraries, not a problem. What is necessary? Basic necessaries. But after that, programmer need, according to their need, they can think about that library and they can install it. But we can't say that before going to develop the project, we can't decide this project is required these many libraries like that. That's not correct. On the flow, you have to install it. So do you give guarantee all the libraries are which is useful to our project? If I install all libraries 10, 15, 20 like that, it may not useful. Why we need to install? Hope you understand that. So whatever the project you start, that basic libraries, basic needs, it's okay, fulfill. But the moment when we try to implement the logic, then automatically according to our requirement, that libraries will be shown. That libraries you have to install it. That is the correct procedure actually. Even if you try to install these libraries like pip space, install space, like pyodbc also is possible. Like this also, through command we can do it, pyodbc in the terminal window. So now let's see this import pyodbc, and pyodbc is okay. After that we need to write starting code for our uh, Microsoft SQL Server connection. But how does this Python file knows that where it has to be communicate means we have to provide connection string. Connection string means address path of the database. This is very important and crucial. Connection is my object name. You can take any object name here, not a problem. Cyn is my object name connection. Equals to pyodbc means a library. Python Open Database Connectivity. Dot connect is a method. It's a built-in method. Now you can see connection string is required. Address path of the database. So what is the connection string? How to mention means, especially we are working with Microsoft SQL Server, and every database to database connection string and address path is slightly different, sir. Not same. Cyn is object name, connection object name equals to pyodbc is a library dot connect is a method. Then now I am using connection string path here. So I'm using driver equals to what driver I'm using, SQL Server driver I'm using. My driver software is SQL Server. SQL Server I'm giving. This is SQL Server. This is driver name. And after that, completely you can use this semicolon by terminating this. And after that, we have to use server name also. Server equals to what server through I connected with SQL Server Management Studio dot server. That's a universal server name. And after that, which database is there with this server name? Database equals to what database we created? Python at 7 a.m. is my database name. I have just now created. You know that in this database only we have to communicate with this database. So these details are enough to communicate this pydb.py file, which will interact with SQL Server driver, server name with the dot, database name is Python at 7 a.m. Directly it will go and search with server name dot server. With this server name, what database we created, that database it will be communicate Python at 7 a.m. So because of this line only, we are able to communicate. If we don't use this line, it will not be able to communicate, sir. It's not possible to connect with the database. So this is completely driver equal to SQL Server, server name is dot, database equals to Python at 7 a.m. This is fine. After that, if you want to retrieve the data from first operation, I'm going to read the data. because already I have two records in my database table EMP with the database name is what actually Python at 7am. So I have to read that. To read that, I'm just creating one function called read function, and this read function also knows that from where it has to be read. So that's what I'm passing connection string object as a parameter to this function. This con I'm passing to this read function as a parameter. So I'm just printing as per my requirement, just reading the data from database, reading the data from database. But to read the data from database, what we is required means cursor variable is required. Okay, you can take any variable, cursor variable name, but there is a method called cursor method. Cursor is the memory location of the records which will be available storage area, like cursor storage area is there. That is the memory location of our records. So cur is my cursor variable. That connection dot what actually cursor method is there. Cursor cursor is a method, it's a built-in method, and cur is a cursor object I'm preparing. Con dot cursor, and using this object only cur dot execute method we have to use. Okay, cur dot execute method. Cur is a cursor object dot execute method. This execute method is required to pass SQL statements because we are trying to read the data from database. Select star from table name is EMP. We are passing SQL command. Here star indicates all the columns like ID, name, address, salary, every values are coming from this table EMP. And after that, we are printing this, what actually, now we can see here, if I take employee data records, we are passing EMP equals to cursor dot execute. We are trying to print EMP means or EMP data better to use EMP data. This EMP data, if you try to print, you can print this EMP data here. So this data we are printing directly after reading the data from table. All the records will come and stored into EMP data. We are printing EMP data. But this is going to be reading mechanism. When it will read, whenever we call this read method. Read is not a built-in method, sir. I'm taking any method name. You can take any method name. Just I'm taking read method because our purpose is reading the data from database only. That's what I'm taking read method here. Okay, this is the read method. So instead of read method, you can take any name, not a problem. That is. So when this code will execute means whenever we call this read method. But did I call this read method? Yes. No, I didn't call. So let's call this method. How to read this? So simply read of connection I'm taking. This is the method calling compulsory. Read of connection. And after completion of reading, I just recommend to close the connection object because already I have created connection object. Better to close this connection also. Now using this code, what we can do, we can retrieve the data from database. What database? Python at 7am. And in this database, we have a table called EMP. We are using select star from EMP. All the records will come and display into terminal window. Let's see this pydb.py, execute this. So once we start execution, now we got this reading process. Now you can see reading the data from database, but look at this. This is called returning cursor object. So cursor dot execute select star from EMP means in this EMP data, we have this object data only there. Cursor object data is there. This is pydbt dot cursor because cursor object will return that object data. But if you want to expose this data, okay, separately, then we need to read from here. How to read from here means just you can see this. I'm trying to convert this into list format. Again, same object I'm converting to list format. So will it come to list format or not? You can check it here. We are converting that into list format. So let's try to do this. We got this list format clearly here. Okay, we got this data, reading data from database. We are converting this cursor object into list format. We are getting list format data. Sir, I don't want to be list format. I want to iterate the values means simply we can iterate the values also. Even this list object also not required. Just directly we can able to read the data by using cursor object only, not required. Just I am showing how it will be represented. Okay. So let's see this for what we can say for loop I'm taking for record means row I'm taking in where records are available cursor object. Okay, after that print what I'm trying to say row. one by one record. Each record I want to display separately. So that's what after one record I'm displaying, I'm using extra print function. It makes next line only. For row in CUR means cursor object is having two records right now, which is coming from database. One by one record I'm printing by using this loop variable row only. For row in CUR means cursor object. Print row means one record will come. After record, it will display into next line. Next line, next record will display here. This is reading the data from database using this read method. So reading the data from database, one record, second record is coming like this. What data is available in SQL Server database, it's coming like this only. Okay, so this is reading mechanism. But look at this, how we are reading this, all the data means, all the column data means, so because of star indication. Instead of star indication, you can take only name and address I want to take. So you can also read multiple column values instead of all the column values. Name and address, I'm trying to read it, only name and address will come from this database. So look at this, only we got first employee record, second employee records, name and address only based on your column names which we provided. But I don't want to use this. Let's go for star only because star indicates all columns from this database. We are reading this. Okay, fine. Next, we need to perform remaining operations in the same example only. I'll show you quickly. So reading is okay, but I want to create a new instance, new record. Then we use create command. And if you want to modify that instance, then we use update command. And if you want to delete one of the instance, one of the record, then we can use delete command. Let's see this all operations together in one same example only. For reading purpose, this block of code will execute when we call read method. But if you want to create a new record, then what we need to do means simply we can create new record. So if you want, you can take separate program, okay, and do all operations separately, not a problem. But I'm trying to do in this same program only. Let's give this creation purpose. So creation purpose, I'm using create command, create method I'm taking, the method name as your wish, that is your wish. Now I'm printing here just confirmation, inserting the data into database, inserting the data into database I'm using. So to insert the data again, CUR cursor object, cursor variable is required, cursor object, that is cu1 dot cursor, and to pass the insert command, cursor dot execute method is there. Here we have to pass the insert command only. How to pass insert command? Normal insert query, SQL Server query, that is insert into table name is emp. Of what columns you are inserting, you have to mention ID, name, address, and salary like this. Okay. After column mentioning what values also we are going to mention separately, that values you have to mention. I'm not passing values directly. That's what I recommend to use question mark symbols for all the values first. After that, you can decide what values you are going to supply. So we are supplying the values separately. After giving question mark symbol, let's close the query, and after completion of double quotes, we can pass the values separately here. ID number 3 I'm passing. Name is what actually employee name is Durga I'm passing. Employee address is Amirpet I'm passing. Employee salary is suppose 6,000 or 60,000 I'm passing like this. This is my details. Look at this, how I'm passing the details here, inserting command through. So these are the details. So cur dot execute, insert into table name emp of ID, name, address, salary, values, all the question marks, and colon, semicolon is there. Query is ended here only. After query is ended, for this question mark, I have to pass these values. ID number 3, and name is this one, address is this one, salary is this one. These values I'm passing to this cursor dot execute method through. And make sure that after inserting you have to save the query only. So for saving purpose we have to use what actually con.commit only, connection.commit only. Commit is required. And finally read of connection object we have to use. Why we are using read again? Because after successfully create method call, it will insert the record. But once it is insertion, I need not to go back to database and check there whether it is inserted or not. So on the spot, after saving the changes into my database, I should read it back again. Once record is inserted, total how many records I should read? Three records, because already one, two records are available in database. Third record also will be read after saving this extra record. Total number of records will get back again by using read method again. Read method you can call anytime, any number of times. You know that method purpose is what? Method is a reusable piece of code. Let's call this create method to create a record. So create method purpose, create method I'm calling. That's all. This is creation of the database record only. At the same time, let me include one more method for updating. Do you want to update any records? Then we can use update method. Again, in the same example, I'm taking update method only. I'm saying, sir, if you want, you can take for every operation separately, you can take it, not a problem. I'm just taking instantly in this one example only. Updating record, updating the record into database, updating the record into database. Just I'm saying. For updating purpose, what is required, sir? Update query is required. Again, update query purpose, cur is my cursor object equals to con is a connection object, cursor is a method, and now I'm taking cur dot execute method I'm passing. Here we have to pass update query only. So updating purpose, update query we have to use. Update query how to pass means update, table name is emp set. That means what you want update, you have to write it. Update, table name is emp set, set name I want update, name equals to question mark. Later I have to supply what value you want update. Okay, name equal to question mark, address equals to question mark, and salary equals to question mark. Salary equal to question mark. Where, 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 where. ID equals to question mark. ID equal to question mark. Update table name emp set name equal to question mark, address equal to question mark, salary equal to question mark, where ID equal to question mark. This query is done. So we completed this query, but for updation purpose, we need to pass separately. I want to pass the separately values. I want to update these values. Now what values? I can say Ram is a name. Okay, or else we can say Ganesh is the name. This I want to update. Okay, address I want to update like Vijag, and salary I want to update 45,000. Where ID number 1 I want to update. But ID number 1 person already there. So IHYD salary 8,000. This I want to update, sir. So ID number 1 is updating by using this update query. After updating also we have to save changes or not? Yes. To save the changes we have to recommend, we will recommend connection dot what actually commit only. Connection dot commit. After that, whether it is updated or not, I have to read back again. So after updating completely, I will read these records. After updating, this data will be read for you, read of connection. So this is update method is working fine. Next, finally, I want to do delete operations in the CRUD operations, delete. So delete, first let me call the method update of connection. So let's delete this one. Delete purpose, I'm writing delete function and just printing here deleting record from database, deleting the record from database. I'm taking this is deleting the record, so we can delete the record. So record again ur equals to cursor object dot con dot what actually cursor I'm taking, and cur dot execute method. So for deleting record, simple command delete from table name emp where id equals to second record I'm trying to delete. ID number 2 means second record I'm trying to delete. After that, connection dot commit we have to use. This is commit method, and after committing, deletion will affect. After deleting, I need to read back the data back again. After deleting, if I read how many records right now table is exist, you will come to know that. So read of connection means second record after deleting, still how many records should be there? 1 and 3 only. Okay, so we can call delete method also here. So let's call delete method here, delete of connection, like this. So this is about complete CRUD operations using Microsoft SQL Server database in one example only. we shown this all operations together. And I'm asking you, if you want, you can consider this every operation in separate example. Separately we can follow. Only methods we can one method you can include with this connection string, and we can call that method separately like this. Hope you understand. Okay, right now here I have currently in this Python at 7 a.m. database table is having these many records. Only table is there, emp and id, name, address, salary is there, these records. But once I start execution of this program, then first it will call read method. Whenever it start reading method, we will get as these records which is available in my database table. 1 2 Sai Ram records will come. Reading purpose we are printing. Okay, and after that whenever we try to execute, it will execute one by one methods, because we have called already methods in the bottom corner of this program. Read method I called, create method I called, update and delete. And after completion of your operations, better to close the connection. Here I have already established the connection with this path. So when we create the record and inserting the data into database, we are inserting third record into the database table, that is 3 Durga Amirpet 60,000. This is commit, means save the changes. Whenever save the changes record is affected into this database, after record affected, whether it is inserted or not, I have to know that into my terminal window only. So that's what I'm reading again after inserting. Once we read after inserting, total 3 records will come. 1 2 3 already available records, 2, and newly inserted record 1. And after updating modification purpose also, of once I update that id number 1 is updating with these details, id number 1 with these details I'll update. After updating, 3 records will come with update and date, updation data, second record, third records will come. And after deletion method calling, second record will gone. After deletion, when we read 1 and 3 records only will be there. So this is the logic which we have written in one program. So the moment when we execute this program, third record will be in, first 2 records will be read, third record will be insert, id number 1 will be update, and id number 2 will be delete. Finally, when we go back to database and refresh, 1 and 3 records only there, you will see this. Right now, before doing operations, 1 2 Sai Ram records are there. But after doing operations, the moment when we start execute this program, look at this, we got the output clearly here. First one by one we'll read. Now closely observe, reading the data from database as it is, what data is there exactly before doing modification like deletion, updation, exactly 2 records are coming. Right now exactly how it is like this, Sai Ram record. Once the moment I have inserted, third record also there, but third record also is coming here. Okay, I'll refresh it here. You will come to know that result, final result here. But third record is available here. We have inserted, after inserting, we are reading the data again, read method is coming. After inserting, 3 records are available. After modification, you can see 1 record data is changing Sai to Ganesh and Vijag, like this updation is possible. And after deleting, second record is gone. Right now, database table is currently available what records, 1 and 3 records are available right now, 1 and 3. So the moment when we go for SQL Server database, back again and go to query designer, you can refresh by executing statements. Now you can see 1 record got updated, third record got inserted, second record got deleted, but finally we have read these two records only. In the output window, these two, 1 and 3 records are available. So this is about basic CRUD operations using Microsoft SQL Server. But same operations we have to do with what? MySQL. In the MySQL concept, so what is required means MySQL connector is required. Okay, so Python hyphen, sorry, MySQL hyphen Python hyphen connector library is required. This library is required to work with MySQL CRUD operations, basic CRUD operations. This library is required compulsory. And moreover, you in your computer, MySQL software is need to be required, sir. I have already MySQL because I used to teach Django, Python also. So that's what, for that I have MySQL clearly here. This is MySQL 8.0 Community Edition Workbench. I'll try to show you how to install in tomorrow's session clearly MySQL, and also to perform MySQL. Here right now today for CRUD operations, I just go to SQL Server backend first and I created a database separately. I created table separately. After that, I have inserted record. I have read and update on all these things. No, but from MySQL case, I will not do like this. Even I will not create any database directly by going to MySQL source, and even I'm not going to create any table also. Everything we can manage from Python programming through only. Creating database through Python, creating table into that database through Python, and creating inserting records, inserting multiple records, deleting, updating, retrieving in different styles. We have a lot of programs are there with MySQL that we will discuss in the tomorrow session, next session. And one thing, information, like tomorrow you don't have session and not only your class, and I'm not taking all the sessions. I'm out of the city tomorrow. So we will see again after tomorrow, that is on Saturday. And if possible, this Sunday also I'll make the session so that it will be good for us. Instead of tomorrow, Sunday also we will cover this session details. So we don't have tomorrow session, and see you again on day after tomorrow, Saturday. And Sunday also I'll take the sessions. You can join on day after tomorrow directly using same link only. Yeah, please, you can drop your mail, Mr. Jagan, so that I can update, and along with them you will get videos. Please drop your mail here. I'll update into my list. Drop your mail ID in chat box, please. What happened? Okay, fine. I'll update this into my list so that you will receive from today onwards along with them. And see you in the next session, that is day after tomorrow at same time, same link only. We'll see MySQL, CRUD operations, all these things.